Dawn, what do you feel are some of the kind of long-term impacts or some of the long-term effects from what we've experienced so far? Because we're right in the midst of it, right? But from this, I guess, what about a month, right? What does it mean for us in the future?
Well, it was kind of funny, as Christy brought it up a little bit earlier, disaster recovery plans, right? We've all got them, and we've all tested them, right? What if this site goes out, right? We've been prepared for hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, fires, floods, you name it, right? Any one site goes down, we know how to react, we can do that. We never thought, what if all sites go down, right? I mean, we never had a plan for that, right?
Yeah.
And so, right now we're thinking, all right, how do we take and look at every manual process that requires somebody to do something manually and in person, and how do we get away from that manual process? Because what this has taught us is that, we were very lucky coming into this. 90% of our production teams, processing, underwriting, closing, were already working remote, right? That's just kind of our model, right? I can't imagine what centralized companies had to go through trying to figure out how to do this. But even so, there's departments within our company that are centralized, right? Post-closing, servicing, accounting, right? Those types of things that are still very, call it corporate-centric type of departments. And they still require an awful lot of, I hate to say, manual processes to get something done, right? So our eyes have been open to how do we eliminate those things to where if we had to go 100% remote instantly, that it's just a flip of the switch, right? And I think that every company is probably reevaluating their process flows right now, and especially anything that requires a human to physically do something at a physical location, because that's where you'd be running into your speed bumps right now. So for us, thankfully, funding loans was not a problem for us at all, because we were already 90% remote. The back-end services, that's the part we got to figure out for the next stage, right? To be able to have that capability to flip a switch, go 100% remote if we needed to, and not have the issues we've experienced this last round.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Jen? Long-term effects?
I agree with Don. I mean, I think, and we are definitely reevaluating some of those. So we had some strong centralization, but, we were able to quickly adapt to that. But to Don's point, we did have, what we call key personnel that needed to have to come into the office, whether that's just once a day or once a week, but we had to quickly reevaluate, okay, can we not have them on site all day, every day, especially if they were high health risk. I think there are long-term effects that we're going to see that we haven't seen yet is the default rates. We're ramping up with anticipation for, with the unemployment to have default, which, we never wish on anybody, but just trying to forward think, back to 2010, that we're going to be having a lot of that coming out. So that I think is going to be a really long-term effect, because we haven't seen it yet. It hasn't started hitting yet, and we're not even at the tail of that. So that is something that I'm concerned about. I know that our company is preparing for. And not just from a company standpoint, this is an economic standpoint. I mean, to Don's earlier point, the speed at which this happened with the unemployment and the breadth across the country is just, it's, I hate to say unprecedented because it feels overused these days. I think I've heard that word more times in the past 12 days or, 4 weeks than I have, my whole life. But it really is. And so just, trying to anticipate how bad that's going to be, just for the families who are going to be impacted, and even for the, extended families of our employees.
Yeah. Christy, do you, same thing as far as the long-term effects?
I think from as Jen really pointed out, forbearance and the after effects of what happens for loss mitigation and default servicing is going to be huge. Luckily, I feel that we are in such good hands because of Courtney, who runs that area for us, and the way that she's trying to be forward thinking and figuring out what the servicing side, what are we going to do? Because that's really going to, as an originator, you know, that's where my perspective comes from, because I spent 29 years on the street. You know, originators think day to day, they think about that next lead. And as a leadership team, we have to think about not just the next lead, but the one 6 months from now and 12 months from now, and how we help people through this economic crisis is going to tell us if we've pulled all of our volume forward now and we're not going to have any in 3 years, or if we're going to put people in a position where as an industry, we can continue to function. And so for both the near term, you know, handling people with compassion, and for the long term, because this is the lifeblood of our industry.